I guess it's time that we get started. And hello to anyone I didn't say hello to. Okay. Uh, Starting up business, AB207. Several of you may have had me before. I teach the economics course, micro, and I've also taught the macro, the AB204. If you have, don't give away my secrets, okay? All right, with that, I'm going to skip over several slides. Those of you who had me for economics may recognize these slides because I use them repeatedly. And that's something on my phone, okay. But this is the one I'm trying to get to. Okay. What I normally do is I start off speaking in German and greet people in German, then I greet people in Vietnamese, and I say, wait a minute, you don't understand those languages. And then I rattle off a bunch of economics terms, and I say those are the things we're going to talk about, and that we want to learn the language. And it's very similar here in business. We're going to be talking about a number of things that may be new to you. You hear terms like bootstrapping or psychographics or collateral or bricks and clicks or, B2B, B2G, B2C, any of this stuff. It's shorthand, but it's all language. And so, it helps to have a handle on the language because we'll use those terms frequently through the course. Okay, so, slow slides tonight. There it is. Okay, so slide 11. For those of you who've not had me before, here are a few pictures that kind of give you a little bit of background about, or a little sense of who I am. I'd like to be something more than just a disembodied voice at the other end of your computer, or disembodied text that you read that's typed. So that's the reason for the pictures. And and you notice that Brenda and I are very much into off-roading. Trouble is we like to go at about 10,000 feet and about almost 200 miles an hour. Now, one thing I should mention, and you'll see a note in the announcements, I'll probably post it either tonight or first thing in the morning. We've had a death in the family, and I'm going to be on vacation for the next 2 days, for Thursday and Friday, because we have to go to Georgia for the funeral. And so we're going to take the plane and fly up, and hopefully we'll get some decent weather enough to come back on. But just in case you see well, I hope you'll read the announcement. You may not be able to get a hold of me other than through my personal email during that time. Yeah, it's difficult anytime you lose anyone, and this is somebody who's reasonably close to my wife, and so that's why we're going to rush up there. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into the course. We'll be headed to just outside of Atlanta, Carrollton, which is out west of Atlanta on I-20. Okay, so getting into the business of the course, if you have not done so yet, you do want to take a look at the syllabus. There's some material in there that will be of value to you. It outlines a little bit about the course and some things that we're going to cover and how the grading is done. It also gives you technical information on how to contact me, who I am, and some other general information will be really important. The reading material is The Entrepreneur, A Real-World Approach by Abrams. And again, it's an e-book, so it's a digital book. It's under Course Home. If you follow the red arrow on this slide, you would go to the Course Home and go down and click on the digital book, and you can open it up there. Now, one thing that's important about this particular textbook is that it has a number of worksheets that you'll want to use in helping you. Some of them we'll use in the class, but most of them we're not going to be able to cover all of them. But they're all there to help you plan your own business. So that's the objective there. Now, On this particular slide, and by the way, all these slides are in doc sharing, so you can download the slides and look at them at your leisure. But the key here is the paragraph citation to the textbook and the reference to the textbook. There's going to be several papers that you're going to have to write in this class. Most of them are brief papers and they relate to a particular topic, but I am going to be looking for references, and at a minimum, now most of the assignments are going to send you to particular websites, so obviously those would be your references too. But if you can't come up with any other reference, then at least use a reference to the textbook, and this shows you how it should be worded. The outline for the course, basically these are the 10 units that we're going to cover and the material that we're going to be covering in them. Now obviously this is a survey course to help you organize your thinking. So in the finance and accounting area, we're not going to delve deeply into that. You take courses in that. In the marketing area, we're going to talk a fair amount about marketing, but obviously you'll want to take marketing courses. Management courses, you'll definitely want some management courses. The more you can know about these areas, the more comfortable you will be in making decisions regarding your own business. So although we'll be talking about these areas, we will not be going into the depth that would teach you to do all the accounting you need to do or any of the rest of that. That's what the specific courses are for. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about grading, and specifically in the discussion threads. Now, I consider the discussion threads to be a learning environment. Okay, that's important to know. I do not consider them to be an evaluation environment. In other words, I don't consider those questions to be like test questions where I'm looking for very specific answers. Instead, in this particular course especially, you will learn as much from your fellow students as you will learn from me. Okay, and from the book, because each of us have our own experience and our own life background that we're bringing to this course, and some of us have been in business already and others are only dreaming about going into business. So all these facets will be brought together, and the discussion boards are a particularly good place to do this. Okay, so some things we're going to be looking for. First off, I expect your first post to be before Saturday at midnight. To play it safe, think Saturday at midnight Eastern time. That way, for sure, there's no mix-up in time zones, and for sure you get your first post in by Saturday. Another thing, I expect you to post on 3 separate days. I also expect you to answer the question, that's one post, and then post to at least 2 of your classmates. Now, if I post a question to you, I would expect, if I tell you that I'm looking for an answer, I'd expect an answer back. I may or may not be responding again to that answer, but at least I'm expecting to read it. But that does not count as one of your posts. You still have to post to 2 of your classmates. So make sure you understand that posts to the classmates are critical. And so we talked about 3 posts, 1 to answer the question, and then 1 to each of 2 different classmates. Okay. Also, your post should be in 3 different days. Okay. So that you don't do everything on one day and then walk away from the discussion. Now, these are the minimum requirements. You should be doing a lot more than that in the discussion thread. And then finally, make sure you include a reference at the bottom of your answer to the discussion question. At a minimum, I expect 1 reference there. If you don't have anything else, if it hasn't sent you to a particular website or something, then use the textbook. Now, what about references when you post to your classmates? That's going to depend on what you say. If you're saying something to one of your classmates that you're telling them about some website that you've been at, or you're telling them about something that you found in your research, give them a reference so they can go look at it too. Okay? But beyond that, it's not necessary to have references to your classmates. Now, about whether it should be cited, In your assignments, if you're writing a paragraph and you're quoting something, then yes, you have to cite the material. In your discussion thread, if you're actually copying and pasting something, you must put quotation marks around it and you should cite it. But if you're just generally talking about something, you're not copying and pasting, then it's sufficient just to put a reference at the end of your post for your answer to the question. This week's discussion is our introduction. Are we still required to use a reference? No, there's no need to reference your initial post for the introduction. I'm talking about the ones that deal with questions. Now, talking about the introductions, I would ask one thing. You saw that I had some pictures, and I put pictures in my introduction too. I would suggest that if you feel comfortable with it, that you attach a picture. Why? Well, we tend to be disembodied text messages, and in my case, audio messages. But to make it a little bit more personal, it's nice to have a picture. It just makes us people to each other. And so if you feel comfortable posting a picture, then I would suggest that you do that. What else? Notice in the yellow, and this is right out of Kaplan's guidelines, that it says the post should be 100 words, the one that answers your question. I'm not a word counter. Those of you who've had me for economics probably are aware of that. I'd like to see a post be very much like a young girl's miniskirt. It should be long enough to cover the subject, but short enough to be interesting. So I'm not going to sit there and count words. I do want your post to be relevant to the topic that we're discussing, though. Okay, and it would be nice if the spelling was correct. The easiest way to do correct spelling is to copy or type your post in a Word document, and then once you have it correct, then copy and paste it into your discussion thread. But if you want to type directly into the discussion thread, that's fine. I'm not going to be hyper about typing and about spelling in the discussion threads, because I know when we're typing there, if we make a typing mistake, it's hard to go back and correct it. So I'm not as concerned about that. Okay, moving forward. Okay, what kinds of assignments do we have? Well, there are, let's talk about the grading activities, which include the assignments. We already talked about the discussion threads. Each discussion thread is worth 30 points, so all 10 of them are worth 300 points. So think of those as easy points. Okay. If you've got your reference down, if you've got posted, before Saturday night, if you've done, posted to 2 of your classmates and answered the question, and you post on 3 separate days, you got all 30 points, as long as your post was of significance. Okay, no problem about that getting kicked in and out. I understand how that goes. So hopefully I get to stay. It depends, though. Okay, there are 7 weekly assignments that are worth 40 points each. Those are in units 1 through 7. So that's another 280 out of your 1,000 points. There is a writing assignment in unit 10. Now that's the one that basically asks you to, tell a little bit about what you learned in the course and what you think of the course. So think of it as the review and reflection writing assignment. Okay? But more importantly, you have a final project. Now it's due in Unit 9, but if you notice up above, I said that there are 7 weekly assignments from Units 1 through 7. What about Unit 8? Well, Unit 8, we're going to let you off the hook. Okay? There is an assignment in Unit 8, but you turn it in as part of your Unit 9 final project. Okay, so Unit 8 is the first half, and it tells you what to do there, but it says don't turn it in now. Put it together with the second half that you have to do in week 9, and turn it all in week 9. Now there is one other additional assignment in Unit 10, and that is a PowerPoint presentation. Basically, the final project is pretty much your business plan. It's not not really every piece of a business plan, but it gives you the meat of what we've been talking about in this course. And the PowerPoint presentation is a bit of a summary of that, or think of it as a PowerPoint on your elevator pitch. And we'll talk more about what that is later. Okay. And then the seminars are graded, so you do need to come to the seminars. Okay, if for some reason you must miss a seminar, then there's an alternate assignment to do to make up the points for the seminar. I think it's a one-page summary of what was covered in the seminar. And what we ask you to do is go to the archived recording, listen to the recording, and then write a brief one-page summary of what we covered in the seminar. Okay. Late policy. By now you've all had a few courses here at Kaplan. You know what the late policy is. My attitude about the late policy is that we're all adults. Okay, I don't think any of you are fresh out of high school. So we all have life issues. We all have situations that we have to deal with. It's conceivable you might have to be a little bit late with a particular assignment. If you do, just let me know. Okay. If as long as you tell me about it and it's an understandable reason, then I'm not going to knock off those extra points they want me to knock off for turning something in late. Do we have a specific amount of posts per seminar? No, Jessica. Just the fact that you show up is sufficient. I figure you're here because you want to learn. So unless you have a question, it is not particularly important to me to have you typing a bunch of messages that I have to stop and read in the text. It's more important to me that if you have a question, that you ask it. That's the important part. Okay, so we talked about late policy. Basically, don't be late, because if you get really behind, it's hard to get caught up. You can imagine if you got to Unit 3 and you weren't able to do the Unit 3 assignment, and then you get into Unit 4, now you got to do all of Unit 4's work plus Unit 3's. And if you're even later yet, you might have 2 or 3 units you have to do all in 1 week. That's a tremendous amount of work. You really don't want to go there if you can avoid it. So just keep up with the work as we go each week. Okay. What other things are important in the syllabus? Plagiarism. By now you're probably pretty familiar with what plagiarism is. In its simplest form, it's copying something from somewhere and pretending you thunk it up, that you did it on your own. Okay. Don't do that. If you copy something from somewhere, put quotation marks around it, put a reference there, cite it, and you'll be all right. Now, it's not just enough, though, to tell me what somebody else said about the subject, whether it's a professor or a management consultant or whatever. Okay? I'm not interested in reading what they had to say. I'm interested in reading what you have to say about what they said. That's the key. So, go ahead and use the quote, but then tell me what it means, tell me why it's important, tell me why it contributes to that particular answer or that part of your paper or whatever it is you're doing. Okay, so plagiarism should not be a problem, right? Now, tutoring. There is tutoring available through the School of Business. I would be surprised if you needed it here in this course, but if you do have questions, my suggestion is you come to me first. Feel free to send me an email. You will see in the syllabus my contact information. I also have my personal email there. The advantage of using my personal email is it comes in on my phone, like that strange beep you heard at the very beginning of the seminar. And so I see it immediately, so I can answer it very quickly. Where my Kaplan email, I check it a couple times a day, but if you send the email right after I've checked it, I may not see it for several hours, or I may not see it till the next day. So easier if you contact me directly by personal email. And I also give out my phone number in case you need to call me. So tutoring should not be a problem either. Now, obviously, if you have any questions, let me know. Are you all familiar with the university color wheel? If you've had my course before, you probably have seen this color wheel. And so I would ask that you pick a color that you feel really speaks to you. So basically, as I said, those are the spread of grades in different courses that I've taught. Okay, so the red color is not a real good color to be in. Now, a couple things that might help you. If a person does end up in that red area for whatever the reason is, or the purple area, they're basically throwing money away, because tuition, as I'm sure you know, is not cheap. It's not inexpensive at all. And if you're getting a student loan for the course and you flunk the course and you have to take it over again, now you have to get another student loan for the course, okay? And you got to pay those loans back. So again, don't waste money. Now, the reason that most people have difficulty in any course, okay, is that they don't devote the appropriate amount of time to it. Okay? Now, if you might be familiar with this, but any university, and it doesn't matter what university we're talking about, it doesn't even matter what country we're talking about, the standard is that for every credit hour that a course has, that a course will award you at the end, each week you should spend 3 hours for each one of those credit hours. This course is a 5 credit hour course. You should plan on spending at least 15 hours a week studying for this course. Now that's a lot of time. Okay? Will it take you 15 hours? Maybe not. You may get into this and find out that you can do quite well in 10 hours a week. Other people might need 12. Other people might really be good and be able to get away with 6 or 7 hours. It just depends on the person. Okay? But the key is you must devote the time. So how do you get in the green area? Here's a few hints that might help you. Okay? First off, set an appointment with yourself for the time you're going to study. Do it. Okay? Find a time that you can concentrate, where the television is not blaring in the background, the kids are not screaming, whatever else is not going on, okay? That you have some quiet time alone that you can focus on the study. Okay? Secondly, before you start trying to do any of the reading, look at what your assignment questions are. Look at what your discussion thread questions are. Look at what we suggest that you start working on towards your final project. Okay? Know what the questions are first. Now when you go do the readings, okay, you'll really cue in on those particular items. Okay? And while you're reading, it's not just enough to read the material. Take out a piece of paper and a pencil. I know that's very archaic, but do it. And make notes with a pencil. Don't type them in a computer. Make notes with a pencil on paper. Okay? Why? Well, when you read something, you get it in your brain a certain way. Okay? When you write notes about it, you reinforce it even more by the physical act of moving the pencil or the pen. You actually reinforce that differently and more strongly in your brain. So it becomes more a part of you. So take notes. Okay? Turn in the assignments on time. Like I said, the last thing in the world you want to do is get behind. So because catching up is really hard to do. Okay? Participate in the discussions. You may think that a waste of time, but it's actually points. They're easy points to get, and you will learn a lot through those discussions. Okay? Attend the seminars. That's quick and easy points too. And I may say something in the course of the seminar that may really help you with either your final project, your own business plan, or with the assignment for that week. Okay? And most of all, come to me when you need help. This particular slide has my personal email on it and has my cell phone. So that if you need me, there's no shortage of ways to get a hold of me. Okay. So basically the long and the short of that is don't waste your money, especially since I'm here to help you. Now, obviously, if you have any questions, make sure you let me know. There's only one stupid question in the world, and that is the question that somebody would not had but would not ask. Okay, so never will I say that question that you ask me is stupid. Okay, never. I'll understand and I will answer your questions to the best of my ability. Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about entrepreneurship and what it is. Okay. Well, here's part of the technical definition out of the book: a process of identifying. And again, I'm not into reading slides to you. I'm sure you can look at the words and read them quicker than I can even speak them to you. Okay. So, but starting a new venture is part of it. Okay. And there's a variety of kinds of businesses that people are interested in starting. Okay. Now, we're going to talk a lot about our business ideas in this course. You'll be talking about what you want to do, what kind of business you want to start to do. Okay. I'm going to ask you, and you'll see this in the Unit 2 discussion. Let me go over here a minute. There's a thing we call a non-disclosure agreement. Okay? And basically what a non-disclosure agreement is it says that you agree not to tell anyone else what that wonderful business idea is that you just heard from somebody. Okay? So it lets us protect our own business ideas. Okay? And in the Unit 2 discussion, I'm going to ask everybody to electronically sign a non-disclosure agreement so that what we talk about in our discussion threads about our individual business ideas is we all recognize that those are not things we can take and steal from our classmates. Okay? And so the only reason I mention it now is many of you may want to say something about your business idea in your introduction. It's not a requirement, but just I caution you that you may not want to give away all your trade secrets in the initial discussion before anyone signs these non-disclosure agreements. So suffice to say that is an important aspect of any business. Okay, or any business idea, because again, we'll talk more about that as time goes on also. So we have a variety of business ideas that people start. Okay. Continuing on with our definition, it's more than just starting the business. It's getting everything together that it takes and combining the combination of the money, the whatever the raw materials are that you need, the facility, the buildings, the employees, everything it takes to run your business. Okay, those are the resources we're talking about. Okay. And so again, we're talking about money, we're talking about where, we're talking about people, we're talking about customers. Those are part of your resources. Okay. And then finally, that starting your own business will give you some possibility of reward, but on the flip side of that, there's a possibility of some risks associated with it. So you may make a lot of money, or you may lose a lot of money. It depends. Okay? So there's rewards and risks with any venture. So that's pretty much the Abrams definition of entrepreneurship. Okay? So what we want to do now is think like an entrepreneur, and this is an example of a worksheet. And your author wants you to self-evaluate. In other words, look at this worksheet and answer the appropriate questions, how you think you feel about those. And because the biggest thing that an entrepreneur does is deal with change. Change is ever constant. The only thing that stays the same is the fact that everything's going to change. Okay? And so entrepreneurs are constantly facing challenges, dealing with things changing that had been stable just a short while before. We all do. It's not just that entrepreneurs do. But the thing is that your business kind of hinges on how you respond to those changes. So another thing is an entrepreneur needs to know how to fail. What do we mean here? We don't want to fail in our business. Well, many businesses do fail. So if your situation deteriorates so much to the point that the business is going to fail, then what you want to do is incorporate these 5 ideas into that failure so that you can learn the maximum from that experience. So when the failure is imminent, you want to fail quickly. You want to fail forward in that you are gaining from what you have experienced in that failure. Okay? You want to be smart about it. Okay? And you want to fail as cheaply as possible. In other words, not throwing good money after bad once the situation occurs. And then finally, you want to function with integrity. In other words, don't give up the things that you believe in. Don't cheat. Don't do all those kinds of things trying to hold on to the last minute. Instead, with integrity, recognize the situation and then develop a plan and deal with it. And that plan would let you springboard forward from that failure and gain from it and launch into whatever the new thing would be. So don't be afraid to fail, but know how. And again, my seminars are pretty much previews of what you're going to cover in the book as you do your reading and as you work on your assignments. So, as the author covers this material, you want to glean from it as much as you can. Okay. Now, there are many advantages to having your own business. We already highlighted a couple in a previous slide. Financial is a good possibility. You stand a chance of making a lot of money if you do it right. There's professional advantages. It increases your recognition and your reputation in your particular industry, if indeed that is something that's important to you. If you're starting your own management consulting firm, that's a pretty important thing. If you're providing individual services to businesses, your reputation becomes extremely important. And then there's personal advantages. The hours you work are the hours you decide to work. Okay? Of course, you'll find that most people who run their own business work way more hours than they ever did when they worked for somebody else. The other thing that we have to deal with is the fact that there are many challenges in business. We've already alluded to one of the main ones when we talked about failure. What happens if you have to go out of business? Another challenge in any business is the ups and downs of sales and revenue. So we call that financial instability. Basically, you'll have some great times when there's a lot of money coming in, and you'll have some lean times where the money is not nearly as extreme. There won't be quite the volume of money coming in, and so you have to be able to deal with both those situations. I kind of like the picture in the middle, though. Hard work. Okay, every owner of every business knows what this is like. I jokingly refer to time when I was, and some of you may know this, I operated an insurance agency for several years. Matter of fact, my wife still runs the agency. But I had 30 insurance agents working for me. I had an office staff. I had 3 telemarketers making phone calls. We had quite a little business going, and there's still revenue coming in from that business. But one day we had a call, and at the time I was carrying trash out to the dumpster. Okay, and as I was walking past the one desk, I saw the phone ringing, and I knew that the secretary was indisposed at the time. I'd sent her on an errand, and she wasn't able to answer the phone. So I grabbed the phone, answered it, with a bag of trash over my shoulder, just about like this guy. And the person on the other end asked if they could speak to the president of the company. And my response was, "Do you mind talking to the janitor? Because that's what I'm doing now." Okay, so basically, when it's a small business and you're the key person, you do an awful lot of stuff. We talked a little bit earlier about the fact that there's constant change, and so you have to be prepared to deal with changing situations. But really, the bottom line is the picture on the lower right. Some of you probably are not old enough to know who that is. That's President Harry Truman. And he had a little sign on his desk as the President of the United States, as the person who authorized the dropping of the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Okay, and the sign basically said, "The buck stops here." Okay, well, the same thing is true with your business. You're responsible for everything that your employees do or fail to do. Okay, bottom line, you are the one in charge. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, what are some more? Well, we got the 4 C's of entrepreneurship. And again, those are elements. I try to include pictures that will give you an idea of what that particular concept is. Okay, so creativity, it's your ideas that make things happen. Okay, obviously, if you're the one in charge, you're the one making the decisions, you're in control. Okay, and again, this is one of the worksheets that you'll be working on. All I did was plug some pictures on it. You have to be prepared for the various challenges you'll face, and then you have to know how to handle the cash. A, where to get cash, and B, once you have a cash flow coming in from sales, how to manage that cash. Okay. The bottom line of becoming an entrepreneur is somebody with a dream, with an idea, something you've been thinking about for a long time. You've turned it over in your mind. You've seen somebody else who was successful. You see a niche where you think you can do things just a little differently and really be successful. It all starts with that vision, that dream. Okay? The key is how to turn that dream into reality. And you'll notice the picture in the center deals with the plans. The plans are the key. People who rush into whatever the activity it is, it doesn't matter, without thinking it out a little bit, are not necessarily destined to succeed. If they do succeed, it's going to be more accident than anything else. Okay, so by doing the planning, you can eliminate a lot of the hurdles that you're going to have to deal with, and be aware of what those hurdles are, and be aware of the best way to approach them. So that's what it's all about. Okay, continuing on. There are several, and you notice I used those worksheets. There are many more worksheets in Chapter 2, and some of those, like I said, you'll want to spend a little bit more time on, even though they may not be required as part of any assignments that we're doing. Some of the worksheets are, some aren't. So, be aware that those worksheets are there to help you plan your business. So here's some ideas. One of them is, what kind of opportunities are available? Each of us has some idea. What gave us the idea? What direction? Why do we think there's a market there? Okay. So what is the greatest idea? How did you come up with it? What makes it special to you? Okay. How do you see it coming together as a business concept? In other words, how can you find a way to find people who will pay for it? Okay? Because remember, nothing happens in business until something gets sold and somebody pays for something. Okay. How feasible is your idea? And there you're going to be looking at the entire milieu of the business. So you look at what the industry is, you look at the product, you look at who's going to buy it, who's already selling it, who's competing with you. And again, much of this we'll spend much more time dealing with. You'll want to know how are you going to operate that's going to be different. and what is your ability to lead or manage the people. And there's a big difference between managing and leading. Okay, and we'll talk at much more length about the difference between managing and leading later in the course. And of course, money is what it's all about. So you need money to start the business, you need money to continue the business, you need a source of money coming in with regularity. You'll know that there's going to be some cycles in when the money is coming in. You'll have some times when a lot's coming in, some other times when there's not much coming in, but there's more bills at that time. And so the inflow and outflow of cash will be very important in your analysis. So I'm sure that you'll have some questions as time goes on. Don't be afraid to let me know. What do we need to cover this week? Well, the most important thing I can advise you to do is always, no matter what, no matter how bored you are with it, look at my announcements and read them over. I might say something important that will save you grief, save you time, or give you a clue as to how to get extra points. So there is some reading to do. I would like you to look over the syllabus. I think that's an important step at the beginning of any course. You want to get an idea of what the learning activities and key terms are. Those are the authors that the author has provided to help you understand the material a little bit better. Okay, and the discussion, again, the introduction is all we have to do this week, so it'll be easy. But again, if you feel like it, it would be nice to include a picture. And you can tell us a little bit about your business idea, but don't give away any big trade secrets. You do have an assignment to do this week, and every week there will be a section to remind you about your final project and give you some things to start working on for your final project. So here, even in week 1, there'll be some simple things that we'll want you to start thinking about your final project. Okay. So, what's the discussion about? Well, we just said the discussion is introducing you, and what kind of business idea do you have? Okay. Some of you have already mentioned those in the discussion here in the text, so just continue it in the discussion thread. Do remember to make sure you make your first post by Saturday at midnight. My suggestion is go in on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, or early Saturday and make that post so you're not hanging on at the very last minute Saturday night and then something comes up and you can't get into the internet or something and you can't make that post, because you're going to lose those points if you haven't posted by Saturday at midnight. Make sure you post on 3 different days. Make sure you've posted an answer to the question and you've posted to at least 2 of your classmates, regardless of whether I have posted to you and asked for a response back. You still have to deal with 2 of your classmates. When you answer the main question, make sure there is a reference. If you don't have anything else to use as a reference, use the textbook. Okay, so we know what to do for the discussion threads. Your assignment is going to have you looking at Tom's shoes. So you have a little bit of research to do related to that. It's got some interesting ideas. You also get to do some work by expanding on your dream scale. That's one of the worksheets that's in the textbook. Okay, and then you relate part of what you learned in that particular assignment to your business idea. Okay. With that, you know how to contact me. Again, I give you my personal email. I give you my cell phone number. We don't have a landline. Landlines are so 1980s. So we're only using our cell phones now. So even though I'm not in Georgia anymore, I do have a 770 area code phone number. And of course, you can always get me through Kaplan, through my email. Also, you're free to leave a message at the virtual office. I do check it every time I check into the course. However, that is a public area of the course, and so you might not want to put anything personal in there that you don't care if somebody else sees. Okay, well, with that, thank you all very much. I should see you in the discussion threads this week, and I will definitely see you in the seminar next week. So, with that, you're free to go, and I'll stick around a little while in case anyone has any questions.